good morning, Matthew.
Hello.
Thank you for showing up today. We have Mathew Embrey, who have had a fascinating healing journey. So, Mathew, can you please tell us how everything started actually?
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, thank you for doing this. I mean, this journey goes back 26 years now. I was 19 at the time, and suddenly started getting neurological symptoms after a sporting activity, after mountain biking.
How old were you?
I was 19 years old at the time, so I was young.
Yeah.
And then the neurological symptoms started. Thought it was a back injury, or a slip disc or something like that. And then only to be diagnosed with multiple sclerosis at that time.
Yeah. So what were the symptoms actually? How was a typical day back then?
The symptoms were, again, neurological. So it started in my foot, and that's where it really started, where it was a combination of hypersensitivity and numbness. Very hard to explain unless you've actually experienced it. And that went right up into my chest, up right up to here. And then leg spasms started after that. And then when I was going through the process, there was other symptoms that I had that I didn't even know I had, like issues with my reflexes, eye coordination issues that I didn't know were there. Things that you live with, you don't even know, right?
Yeah. So how much time did this last? All these neurological issues?
Well, we went to work pretty quick. I mean, my dad is a research scientist, and he more or less just, went right to the medical library, motivated by my mother as well, my late mother, who was a nurse. So we started nutritional strategies, almost like within a couple of weeks. And then I also,
which treatment did you get at the beginning?
Like a medical treatment, or?
Yeah. I mean, which modalities have you tried?
Well, I did do one course of steroids, but then after that, I stopped that, and then just went purely with nutritional strategies, exercise, acupuncture, high dose vitamin D. And now, as I've gotten older, meditation and meditative practices have definitely become part of my program. But I haven't done any of the conventional drug therapies. Again, I don't want to come across as anti-drug, because in today's world, people want to polarize you. So I'm not. I'm not anti-drug. I just want drugs that, for me, I feel like are going to have long-term effect, and I don't want to also suffer the side effects.
Yeah, of course. You are right, I think, about it. So what do you remember? A dark night of the soul, a moment where you felt very, very low?
I did. I mean, there's one night I do remember. I guess I have quite a bit of faith now, but back then I didn't. I was, an adamant atheist. Maybe not totally atheist, but I did not have any I was not open to that type of thinking. But there was one night that I found myself on the floor, just begging to God, literally on the bathroom floor, because I knew. I mean, I was young, and I was really scared of the outcomes. And I'm the kind of person who I just love life. Like, I love everything about it. I mean, I love doing stuff. And I think with the MS, I was worried that it would rob me of the ability to do so much of the things I wanted to do.
That's right. And so what was the turning point? You mentioned your dad went to delve deep down.
Yeah. There was a couple I'd share with you. I've never even shared what I'm about to tell you in an interview, but I've done, hundreds, if not thousands of interviews. There's two things that happened. One, I committed to the nutritional strategies. I committed to the discipline of getting better. Okay. So I committed to nutrition, exercise. I went all in. And then there was another moment that was, it's interesting you bring it up, because my dad just moved, and it came back where I carved into my desk. I carved the date of, I think it was July 26, 1995. I'm like, Yeah, I can't remember exactly what I wrote, but more or less it was, I'm going to war. Like I'm going to fight. Um, and I guess it's selfish in a way because it was only fighting for me. I mean, at the time, I wasn't part of the mission that I'm working on now, but it was really just, I'm going to war against this thing.
So can you elaborate what exactly did you do? I mean, nutrition wise, exercise wise.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So that was, I mean, right now it's a fashionable, it's what's more fashionable, the anti-inflammatory diet. But back then, it was, it was fairly new. So it was dairy-free, gluten-free, low sodium, low sugar, no beans or very low beans, no beans, no eggs. So a really restrictive diet. So
Was
again, back then,
was it a plant-based diet or?
no. And we still included lean meats, fish, chicken. Still eat that way today.
How about
Um,
fruit? Did you take fruit? Because I ask because fruit are also very sugary.
it's again, I used to have a lot of fruit. Now I don't hardly eat any. Again, I did have trouble with the sugar as I got older, for sure. Other arthritic symptoms started to appear for me. And then once I eliminated sugar, that went away. But that's where I am at today. That took, I stopped sugar about a year ago, fruit like that. And then exercise. As I've gotten older, I'm even more disciplined. Back then, it was I think every day, and a couple of days off. Now I'm almost 7 days a week,
So
and then sometimes twice a day.
I'm interested back then, what did you do in the exercise? Was it resistance exercise or?
Yep. Swimming was a huge part of my program. Weights, cardio. Yeah.
And if someone hears you now and is in a deep pit in his journey and what is if you had to take one insight from your experience, what would that be that you would give as an advice to a fellow sufferer?
There's only one person that's going to get you out of this, and that's you. I mean, you can hope that help is on the way, and it will come. Help will come in ways. But if you can get outside of that expectation and realize that the person who's really going to change this is the person in the mirror, there's so much freedom in that, because now it's on you. And so and to know that the little choices you make towards getting better really count, and not to go for the home run. Like, don't think you need to run out and like run 5 miles. Like, go walk to the end of the driveway and then like write it down, like you did something great. It's those micro steps towards becoming the best version of yourself that I really try to encourage people to think about and focus on.
So after you started the regimen of the exercise and the very precise nutrition, how much did it take till you saw results that you were healed?
I think like totally symptom free was about 4 or 5, maybe 5 to 6 months. I can't totally remember how long, but it was about half a year. And then the acupuncture played a big part in that. And then I haven't looked back.
So what is your relationship with pain right now versus the back? Like if something springs now out, if you feel a twitch or you mentioned the arthritis that came along the road, what is your psychological approach now or attitude towards pain? We have relationship with pain.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this last few years of my journey especially have been really about mental control. I think that, we can go through both physical and emotional pain, and I understand that. And physical that's incredibly challenging. And I've been on other podcasts to talk about that kind of thing. And I did a documentary on opioid use, so I know how scary that road can be. But for me, it's so much about thought control, and then actually putting steps into things into action to keep healthy.
Do
And I
you?
think if my mind wanders, I try to get it back. And then if I've got downtime and I can feel those, thoughts creeping in, I just put myself into action as quick as I can.
So do you mean the meditation thing, or programming the brain again, reprogramming the?
Yeah. Everything you're talking about, I've done. I've tried. I keep trying. So really long, for me, meditative practices. Just really disciplined. Very, very, very hard work. Much harder than the diet.
Of course, of course,
You
it,
know,
it is
you know,
because it is more etheric, more less tangible. You
yeah. And then I've also done what you've said. I've worked on reprogramming concepts, in using affirmations. I've used different types of frequencies, sounds, and beats. I've really experimented with that. I can't say I don't have the scientific literature to support that type of thing, but I have the real world experience of like how I live my life and how happy I am and how I just live it.
so
And I try to
I
share
know
with people.
it is considered the woo stuff, but
Yeah.
from real life experience, from life itself, you can say that it works. It works.
Yeah. I mean, I know it works. I mean, there's my life before I started meditation, and I think there was mindful practices. And
Yeah.
then a lot of isolation time, and then there's my life after, and my life after is not even comparable for my levels of happiness and contentment, ability to sleep, lack of, say, anxiety and depression, and then my faith, which is a huge aspect. It's not a traditional Western Christian perspective, and I don't want to get too much into it, but it's a big part of my life.
How about prayer? Is it
Huge.
Can you say
Yeah.
something about it, please?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't want to pigeonhole myself as
No, I
as
have.
someone, but my work through Jesus Christ, speaking directly as best as I can to the Elohim, has been something. I don't want to get emotional, but it's transformed my life. I've had healings through it. That's just the truth, and people, they don't look at me. I try to tell people about it, but they don't. It's challenging, right? But it's been huge,
So
and
how
direct contact has also occurred in my life for sure. I know it.
I'm not sure that I got a precise answer to how was your relationship with pain changed. What can you say?
Uh,
What is your take
I
on pain? How do you perceive pain now
Do you
versus
mean emotional or or physical?
both?
Um, I think I used to see it as like an inevitable place that one had to go to on some sort of regular basis, right? Like there was some part of life you had to endure. And I think maybe that's true to an extent, but now I think it's something that, okay, that place will open up for you to enter. And I think on occasion you have to go there, but don't stay there for very long. And know that if you want to get out of it, you have the ability to do it. And I think that's easy for me to say because I don't suffer physical pain, so I can't speak too much to that. And I do feel my heart really goes out to people who are on chronic pain physically, because I know how it's so challenging. But I think my message is consistent in regards to it's on you, it's on the individual. And I think God, and however people want to see that, will give you opportunities to help yourself. You just got to be really awake and realize when those opportunities are coming, and they're presenting to you, both physically, mentally, and even maybe in the dream world. Hope that's not too out there.
No, I love it. I love it. The dream world is where everything is possible.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reality we experience beyond moral and physical laws that there's clues, and I think that you spend a third of your life there, so why not try to pay attention?
So Matthew, two more little questions. You mentioned the mind control, the controlling our thoughts, being the captain of our ship.
Yeah.
And can I ask you about what is your advice, how to cultivate a sense of safety? Because you know, even Dr. Sarno's work is about.
That's a good question.
So what is your take on it, about the issue of safety?
For me, in my journey, it's been about isolation and controlling my environmental exposures. So it's about, for me, it's about knowing what I can control in my own health journey and how I can either have to avoid situations or continually put myself in healthy environments that I'm safe. So, you know, recognize where my threats are, and those threats can come in the form of people. They can come in the form of, you know, different types of foods or exposures to media. There's so many things that can enter our eyes or our ears that could be so harmful to us, to touch our bodies, whether that be like primal animal things like that. And I think that it's about learning. You know, you can make a list of, you know, what are the things that really bother you, that you know that are your triggers, and then starting to take control and not caring what people think. Like I just don't care. I mean, I have gotten to the point in my life where it's like, if I don't see someone for 4 days or 3 days because I want to walk around in nature, I'm going to do that because I got to protect me.
So actually,
and if,
you are talking about avoiding of toxic environment, toxic people, toxic food for us, and opening ourselves to love and light, to the good stuff.
Yeah,
life.
exactly. You nailed it. That's exactly how I feel. And you know, it's constantly a choice. Like it's constantly a choice. And I think that where I try, and my social media, if you follow it at all or look at it, I really try to wake people up. So like on a Friday night, I'll do something and say, hey, like, are you going to sit and have, you know, a bottle of wine and watch Netflix? Or are you going to go for a walk and do something else? I'm not going to judge it. You have your option of what you want to do, but be aware of what it's doing to you.
This is beautiful. But doesn't it make you more vigilant, more alert? Like if you are very alert to discern what is toxic, what is good, doesn't it make you even more anxious, more?
No, because I mean, it's an interesting idea, but it makes me more fearful of the things that can bother me for sure. So it accelerates my ability to get away. And I think that I've learned over the years just how quickly to do that, and then to reground myself really quickly and this could be really real world thing. And I think people need to, that's what I try to teach to people. It's like, if you're in an environment, a work environment, a social environment where you feel things going, you can just walk out the door. You've got to develop the courage just to literally just walk out the door and go walk in nature, or go for a run, or go for a swim. And the more you do it, the more you experiment with it, the more you realize, like, hey, like, I don't have to live this way, or you know, there's another reality that I can go engage in a second. And I think that for me, that takes away the anxiety, because if I go into a social environment and I think, well, this is going to go bad, then I'm just going to leave.
Right. And now when something occurs, like you know, life is surprising. If God forbid there is something happening, an injury or a pain starts, what is your response to it?
I just get after it right away, like right away. And I think it's, you know, if I've lived with this for 26 years. I tell people, if I still get neurological symptoms. I think normal people do. I don't like the word normal, so I take that back. I don't know if I believe in that word, but it's so top of mind that anything that will present for me will be like, oh my gosh, here we go. You know, is this going to be it? And I think it's really, for me, it's learning about how to quiet that voice as quickly as possible and put myself into the next step of going back up. And that could be something, again, very simple. It can just be like, okay, I'm going to go eat a salad. At least I know I'm on the way up. That can be, saying a prayer. At least I'm on the way up. And I think that, I sometimes see life. Do you know that game Snakes and Ladders?
Yeah.
It's like that. Sometimes you hit a snake and you go back down, and you go, oh crap, I got to go back up again. And then, but if you stop and look at the snake too long, it's not so good. Or if you regret, where you were, you go, okay, no, I just got to go, because another ladder will appear, right?
I love it. I love this analogy. And it's a good metaphor to remember. There is one more thing, but I hesitate whether to ask you. You mentioned the spasms in your body back then.
Mm-hmm.
So there is this bracing pattern of very highly sensitive people, and I see that you are one of these. So when we brace ourselves, and again, it can be psychologically and in the body, and you know what? It's not only the muscles tighten,
Sure.
but also the blood vessels, the lymph. Who knows?
Interesting. Yeah.
What is more? What is your take on this bracing pattern, which is very, very hidden to many people? They live with it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've thought, I've never had that question asked to me that way, and that you've done a great job articulating it. And I guess we call it a flinch. Is that the idea, like a flinch response? And obviously these things, I think, we can explain it biologically, and it comes from the fight or flight mechanisms, I suspect.
Mm-hmm.
And then given past traumas, and I that's tough. I mean, this is an ongoing journey for me still, right? And I think that there's no question I struggle with those types of ideas, for sure, and those types of responses in given situations. And I think, and I hope I'm not sounding like a cop out, but in my journey, I've really had to isolate. I've had to pull myself away from most things in society. That's had its consequences, for sure. But it's also been so amazing for me, like for my journey here on the planet.
You are more aligned.
Yeah, like it's me on the planet, and like I'm, I talk to trees, and I go talk to animals, like
Good.
And maybe on the outside people might think I lost my mind, but
oh no,
I just don't care. Like, and I think that my life just keeps getting better, and so I listen to some people, and I'm like, well, I just can't relate to most people anymore in my life. And I think that sometimes my message is about walking away from a lot of things, but to that flinch response, it's similar to the fear, my strategies into pain, where it's just, okay, how can I avoid these situations? Because I can't control the way my hair grows, right? So it's like they're natural biological things that I have no control over. And that flinch response, whether it be PTSD that I've had some issues in my own life too, and I don't know it. I don't like to pathologize myself too much. I just like to accept that I am this way. So then what am I going to do about it? And, does that make sense?
In a way, but it's paradoxical, because, isolation and avoidance, I tend to do it too, to protect myself. But the avoidance is what Dr. Sarno says, no, expose yourself. Desynthesize yourself. So, most...
Yeah, I don't buy it. I mean, to be honest, I don't. Like, that's just, and maybe there are certain beings that that can do that. But I think, I'm not the only person in history who's had to resort to this. And I've studied others who have had to take time and just kind of realize that they've got certain times of the day they just got to go. And I'm one of those beings. And I think that if we're looking for positive outcomes, well, you know, I'm 26 years out of being diagnosed with MS. I just ran a marathon a couple months ago, just ran a half marathon. I've got an adventure race I'm training for right now. So, I mean, what kind of outcomes are we looking for? Right? Again, I'm not boasting. I'm not boasting. I'm just saying here's.
It's a testimony. It's a testimony that shows the doom and gloom of the past versus the glory of the present.
Yeah, and I think that, yeah, and I think that that's why I'm so vocal, because you get an idea of what illness is in your mind, and like, oh, this is what MS is, and then they show you a picture of, you know, someone who's really suffered, and that's, I don't know if that's good for our young people and anyone to have that programming established. And then you can have a whole generation who Google MS and a guy like me pops up, and suddenly that they're starting to rethink what the disease could be. And you know, that's important too.
So Matthew, for sure, living the way you live, you might lose people, but you have a much richer inner life, if you can talk.
Yes.
And this is a big gain for sure.
Yes.
Because after all, you live with yourself. You want to feel good under your skin.
That's right. Yeah. And then the people who reflect that will appear in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Right.
Matthew, I really wish you the best of joy and health.
Well, thank you so much.
Life to come. Thank you for appearing.
Okay, take care.
Bye.